Hello, today I'm going to show you how to use Trello to keep track of projects. This is how we've sort of developed to keep track of our OER Specialist projects and all of the tasks that are involved in that. So the first thing to know about Trello is you create a board, and on that board you add tasks and you organize things in the way that works best for your workflow. So while we've developed a way that works best for us, you might want to make some modifications and make this your own as you go through. Now Trello has two classifications of boards, personal boards and team boards. Personal boards are just that. They are boards that you are the only one who has access to, and you can use it to organize things that other members don't need to know about. So for example, I use a personal board to keep track of my projects. I use one for school as well to keep track of all of the assignments that I'm doing and all of the steps that I need to do in order to complete an assignment, keep track of due dates, things like that. Then there's also the OER Specialist. Here is a team board. So this means that multiple people can work on the board at the same time. Whoever is a part of your team can also have access to multiple boards. So if you want to create one board for each project or each subject, for example, if you're working on a whole bunch of psychology classes and you want to keep all of that separate, you can have multiple boards under a team and everyone will have access to them. So let's really quickly go into our team board and I'll kind of show you around a little bit. So we are working on quite a few projects right now, and I'm working to get everything set up since the beginning of our semester. We're working on 2 art history courses, we're working on finishing up a theater course. We have our own projects that we're kind of working on that are more personalized to us and aren't really affecting a lot of faculty. We have a college success course that we're working on, a computer game industry course that is going to be a ton of fun. So we have a lot of projects going on right now, and if you scroll to the side you can see even more projects as you move on through. So now each one of these is a card, and on this card there are sort of mini cards, and this is where you're able to organize things. So you can name these boards, these little cards, anything that you would like. So we, for example, called this one OER Specialist Projects, but we could call it Get It Done, or something like that. So let me take you through and show you a little bit about how you can use the board to keep track of things. So for example, in our theater course, we're working on the last couple of modules, and then we need to move everything into Canvas. So what I've done is I've assigned due dates for all of these. Those are personal due dates for my team. That way we can kind of keep track of where should we be progressing through this project. Now what we can do is we can always go through and we can change that, but let me show you some of the basics. So if we click on the card, it will pop up and show us in more details. So what we can do is I have assigned labels to this. Now labels are a way of sorting things. So for example, we have a green label that's when things are complete. We have each one of the courses has a special color that we've assigned to it so we can keep track as things move around the board. My coworker Sean, we kind of keep track of which projects he's taking the lead on and which projects I'm taking the lead on, and which ones are just OER tasks that we just need to complete. And this is kind of our way of keeping things organized. That way at a glance we can see where does this fit in. For example, we can see that these over here are pink. These are ones that I have taken on, and I volunteered to do these tasks, so then it becomes one of my projects. So going back into that, we can also see that there's a due date. We can change the due date however we like. There's also a reminder. So at the time of the due date, we can have it send us a reminder, or 2 days before, it'll pop up a reminder and say, hey, don't forget, you need to have this done. You can also remove due dates if it's something that is ongoing or doesn't have a pressing due date. So that's how you keep track of that. We use the checklist feature over here to be able to keep track of what still needs to be done. So for example, these are all of the modules that will need to get uploaded into Canvas. So once we've completed it, we can go ahead and just mark off which chapters we finished uploading, or modules, which modules we've finished, and it will keep track of the percentage of how close to being done are we with this task. And this is great. That way our supervisors can kind of keep track of where are we on this project if they get questions. We can be very specific with teachers and let them know we're a little less than halfway done, and it makes it very easy because then my partner and I, we can be going through and checking off tasks as we finish them. That way there's never a question of, oh, where did you finish, or what have you started, that sort of a thing. There's also an area down here where you can kind of write comments and things like that. So for example, I wrote a comment that said modules 1 through 11 are ready to move into Canvas, the rest are being vetted or added to and should be ready shortly. This way we can kind of keep a dialogue about what we're working on and our progress through that. So for example, my coworkers know now that modules 1 through 11, they're good to go into Canvas, so they probably shouldn't start on these historical modules until I give them an update on that. There's definitely other things that you can do. You can add attachments. So for example, if you're working on a document, or if there's a poster or a flyer or something like that that you've completed that you want to share with your team, you can use the attachment feature and you can upload things from the Google Drive or Dropbox or just your computer. And what it'll do is it will upload a little attachment so you can see it. You can also add a cover image. I personally don't find that to be the most useful, but if you are finding that you're having trouble keeping track of the colors or you run out of labels, you can also upload a cover image that is a picture of what needs to be done, or a motivational image or something like that. There are also custom fields that you can add. So for example, if you wanted to add a checkbox or a date that something needs to be completed, for example, if you wanted to date these individual modules of when they'll be released to students or something like that, there's a drop-down box that's sort of like this that you can add into there. Numbers, text, things like that. Now, when you're using a team drive, like a team board like this, there's only a limited number of power-ups. You only get one. However, on personal boards, it seems to be pretty unlimited how many power-ups you can use. So I encourage you to explore the power-ups. There are things that can help automate tasks if you're constantly creating lists that have the same things to do. If you want a calendar feature where you can sort of see everything on a calendar, you can go ahead and use that. You can also move, copy things. So if you wanted to have this for another module or another project, for example, if you had 2 projects and they both have 11 modules, if you wanted to move that over and start working from this, that would be a good way to do that. You can also make this a template. So once you've found how you like things laid out, you can lay it out in a template. Watch. This means that you'll get notifications if something changes. So for example, if I mark something off, if my coworkers are watching it, they'll get an update. It's automatically set to watch. If you find yourself getting too many notifications, turn off watch and just turn it on for those things that really matter to you. You can also archive. This is sort of the way of clearing the board. So if we archive this board or this card, it will go into the archive. It's not permanently deleted. You can still access the archive, but it's a way of sort of clearing the slate of this task. You can also share as well. So that's a little bit about that. You can also add a description of this task. So for example, I've added, this is a good example. So I have the research for week 3 to 4 of the module is about storytelling, prototyping in the game world, which coincides with chapter 5, half of chapter 5, chapter 6, and chapter 7 of the original textbook. So now we know when we start work on this that we need to go look at part of chapter 5, chapter 6, and chapter 7 of that textbook to really understand where things are. This is a great way to take your notes from your meeting with your teacher and just include them here so everyone has access to them. And again, you can add due dates and attachments and things like that. Right now we have a due date already set. You can customize the time. I always choose to set it to midnight, but you can also have it due an hour before you will be finished for the day, so that can also help. So that's a little bit about this. There's definitely more to Trello, and there's lots of different videos and tutorials out there, and if you're going to start using Trello, I highly encourage you to check those out. There's some great ones out there. But I hope this sort of gave you an idea of how we use Trello to keep track of our projects and to make sure that we're staying on top of everything. Thank you so much.